Roll, gentlemen and ladies.
Oh, is this yours or mine, Ronnie?
I don't know. That's not a good sign, is it? Okay, I will now call to order the Rolesville Board of Commissioners regular meeting. This is March the 5th, 2024. Thanks everybody for coming out. We got a good crowd here tonight, good turnout, so appreciate it. Weather's getting better. A lot of things going in Rolesville. A lot of construction work going on. You have to drive around, those type things, but things are good. And just appreciate you coming out. Hope everybody have a good evening and a good week. Thank you very much for doing that. We first order of business is we have the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll stand for that. And then second, have Pastor Tyler Williams from Village Church, Rolesville, will do the invocation. We may stand if you would while he does that. Thank you. Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mike, yours, Tom.
Thank you, everybody. If you have a word of prayer, let's pray. Good and gracious God, we thank you that you are a God of love. We thank you for your amazing, unconditional love for us, for showing us how to live together in community. We pray your blessing. We pray your guidance, your wisdom, your discernment for all of our commissioners, our town staff, so that as they make decisions and lead, they may do so with an eye towards doing justice, loving mercy, and walking humbly with you, so that Rolesville is a town where all can flourish, a place that is known for neighboring well. We ask all of these things in your son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Williams. Appreciate that. Thanks for coming out tonight. Very much. Thank you. Okay, we have a pretty full agenda tonight, so we'll get started. One of the first things on the agenda is a proclamation, and it's for a good organization here, one that's been here a long, long time. I remember before it was a nonprofit, and I'll read a little history here. Some of my kids participated in the program even when it wasn't officially as it is today. And so it's a great organization. It's probably something that's really grown from this community that serves even a larger community than just Rolesville. So this is a proclamation of the town of Rolesville, Mayor and the Board of Commissioners, Northeast Wake Backpack Buddies. Whereas Northeast Wake Backpack Buddies began as a youth mission at Rolesville Baptist Church in 2006, and whereas in September 2001, Northeast Wake Backpack Buddies separated from the church, becoming its own 501c3 nonprofit organization. Whereas Northeast Wake Backpack Buddies is led by a part-time executive director, 13 board members, and many volunteers. And whereas Northeast Wake Backpack Buddies is funded from grants and private donations, and whereas bags are packed by volunteers and contain kid-friendly food and are provided anonymously for weekend meals and snacks to children identified as food insecure by leaders, counselors, social workers at schools in Rolesville, Wake Forest, Raleigh, Zebulon, and even Knightdale. Whereas food is a source by the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina, neighbors in the Bedford at Falls River and Courtyard at Heritage Grove communities, collections by area businesses and individuals, and necessary purchases made at area stores. And whereas, this is really big numbers here. Whereas 450 children provided bags each week, and the program is slated to deliver over 16,000 weekend bags during the 2023-2024 school year, with 14,913 bags delivered in the 2022-2023 school year, and 13,652 delivered in the 2021-22 school year. Therefore, I, Ronnie Kern, Mayor of the Town of Rolesville, do hereby proclaim Northeast Wake Backpack Buddies to be irreplaceable treasure and a remarkable organization that is vital to the children in the communities, and urge the citizens of Rolesville to donate and also to volunteer in support of this wonderful organization. And this is dated the 5th day of March, 2024. Thank you very much. I see a lot of the green shirt people here, so great. I do have a signed proclamation here, so I'm gonna step out front if you're good, and as many as you that would like, let's get up here if you don't mind, and we'll try to get the board in the background. And board, go ahead and stand up so you'll be. Yeah, you gonna do it? Okay. Let's get right here in this little area so we can see them in the back. So y'all kind of feel in around here if you would.
Should we move the chair? Oh, wait.
Up the camera.
We gotta go that way.
Like lemmings, right? You're moving back and forth.
Are we good?
This is yours. So you hold that.
That's awesome.
That's a great group there, and a great need. It's a big need there for kids that just, they get food at school, but sometimes they need food other than at school on weekends and things like that. And this organization stepped up over, what did I say, 2006. That's almost 18 years ago. And I've been serving ever since and growing. And really, as it says in this proclamation, anybody would volunteer would be great. So they still need volunteers. It takes a lot of effort to do what they do, and anybody want to volunteer time, money, anything like that would be great. So appreciate that, and thank them for what they do on that. Okay, moving on with the agenda. The next item we have is to consider approval of the agenda. So you guys have that in front of you. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? In that case, I'll say aye.
Aye.
All right. No no's on that, Madam Clerk. Consider approval of the consent agenda. And there's quite a few items we have on the consent agenda. I think we've touched on all of them at some point in time. At this point, we can approve the consent agenda as is, or we can pull the item and we will discuss it after we approve the consent agenda. We'll discuss and make a separate vote on that. So does anybody have an item that they want to discuss and vote on separately? We'll pull it. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed? That one approves too, so thank you. This is an opportunity to public be heard. So, Madam Clerk, anybody can sign up for that. This is a 3-minute, you individually get 3 minutes to give any comments you want to the board. It's really not a dialogue with the board, it's just a comment from the public. So anybody, and being no one signed up, I'll entertain anybody that want to speak. Anybody want to speak tonight to the board? All right. Thank you. Now we'll do the board liaison reports. We'll start with Commissioner Austin, which is Veterans. Any report from the Veterans, Commissioner Austin?
Yes, sir. Quite a few. Good evening, Mayor Curran, board, everybody here tonight. March 5th, 2024 Veterans Report. The Coffee with a Veteran meet every third Saturday of each month at 0900 hours at Arise Co-working Center, 300 Southtown Circle. The date for this month is 1/6 March. It is open to all veterans, veteran spouses, caregivers, active duty military personnel as well. The Veterans Fellowship Breakfast meets the last Wednesday of the month at 9 o'clock at IHOP located in Knightdale, 6707 Knightdale Boulevard. The next breakfast will be on 27 March. You can contact Master Sergeant Retired Jerry Magnum at jmagnum07@yahoo.com. On April 27 at 8:30 to 13:30, the Family Life Center Greystone Church, located at 2601 Hillsborough Road in Durham, will be hosting the Veterans Resource Fair. The Durham Veterans Resource Fair will provide an informative, respectful, free, and fitting event to all veterans who serve through any military service at any time, in any location, and has need of service, support, or assistance. Some of their area of focus are employment and training opportunities, housing support, trauma response, suicide prevention, as well as VA benefits. The Sugar Bear Foundation, in honor of Lieutenant Colonel Mario Carrazzo, will be having a lunch and learn session on Wednesday, March 13th at 1100 hours to 1330 at the North Carolina National Guard Joint Forces headquarters. This event is for Gold Star, surviving spouses, active duty and service connected losses, their children, guardians, and support coordinators are invited to come and learn about their programs, the registration process, and their events. In case you're hungry, free lunch will be served. The military banner. Do you have a service member with immediate ties to you and or Rolesville and you would like to recognize them? Consider being a part of the Rolesville Military Banner Program. These banners will be displayed on Granite Falls Boulevard between Memorial Day and Veterans Day each year. The deadline for this application is 30 March. Somebody retired Paul Berry, which he is the Strategic Partnership Senior Director for Veterans Bridge Home, is having a guest speaker because this is Women's Appreciation Month. Jamie Upchurch, she is the Women's Veterans Program Manager at the Durham VA Healthcare System, to speak to women veterans about programs and services that are aligned with the expanding healthcare needs for all women veterans, as well as homeless women's veterans. Also, Sergeant Major Berry is hosting a lunch and learn for the Gold Star surviving spouses as well. Okay, March, as we know, is Women's History Month. In 1987, Congress declared March as National Women's History Month. A special presidential proclamation is issued every year to honor all of the women who have served in the armed forces. Also, on 14 February, the DAV, which serve our veterans and their spouses, was awarded by Representative James Roberson a $100,000 grant for the reconstruction of inside their building, because due to a lot of mental health issues, that is not enough privacy in their location. So that grant will be going towards that. As well as I did hear back from the Navy concerning the NNDCC, or the Navy National Defense Cadet Corps. The applications are due on March 8th, and the board will make their final decisions on March 15th. So we're looking close, but so far, so good. So I'm hoping to hear some positive news from that. And that will conclude my briefing.
Great.
I may ask one question. So March 8th, they will make a decision on which high schools get the program? Is that
No,
what that's-
the applications are due nationwide on March 8th
applications for?
for the Navy National Defense Cadet Corps or the JRTC.
So would it make it on the 15th? She's asking when would it make the final cut? Is the 15th?
The 15th is the decision making.
So that's when we'll know whether we're going to have it at our high school or not. That's what I was looking, okay, thank you.
15th.
Yes.
Okay,
But so far, there's no negative obstacles.
that's awesome. Good
Good
job.
work there.
Yeah, good job.
Great. Thanks for the veterans update. Good work there. I think safe to say the town really supports the veterans, and all that information should be found on our website,
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
So, I know Dan went over a lot there, so unless you were taking really good notes, you won't remember all that. But it is on our website. So look on our website and look up. There's so much going on for veterans that you should be able to find something to get plugged in on. So thank you, Dan, for that.
A lot of
Appreciate it.
volunteers are needed, especially for the monthly veterans coffee.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Long, Public Safety, anything to report on that end?
Just a few items, and good evening, Mayor and fellow board members and town constituents. Just as a few updates I'd like to share with you, the conversations I've had with the police department as they continue to move towards the budget season. There are a couple things that they will be looking to improve upon. The usage of the drones that we have recently purchased, which will also need the software for updates just to make sure that we're doing that as tightly as possible. Also, we are looking at a community resource officer to help us with the DARE program and such things of that nature that will be helping within our schools. As far as the fire department, I'd like to quickly share, they had barrack-style sleeping arrangements for over 17 years. As of last Friday, they went in and changed that to a more of a pod style with privacy. The reason why they did that, which is very important, is they've hired their first full-time female firefighter in Rolesville. Her name is Chelsea Hendren, and I hope I didn't butcher her last name. And she started on Monday, on March the 4th. Now, just as a note, there have been 2 volunteer female firefighters that have been here, Willow Keeley May and Megan Chester, but not a full-time FTE, so we're very excited about that. And then on tomorrow, they'll be meeting as a Rolesville board, which will hopefully get us a little bit closer to our unification process. Thank you.
So presently, there's 2 volunteers and the full-time?
That is correct.
So it's 3 altogether?
3 altogether, yes, sir.
Gotcha. Well, good. That's good to hear. Thank you. Good report, Commissioner Long. Commissioner Paul, senior citizens, anything you got to report on senior citizens?
Few things, Mr. Mayor, thank you. So we're fortunate to have several senior organizations to help serve our senior community. These organizations include Seniors Helping Seniors, SING, and the Senior Network. The Senior Network is hosting a series of events called Sharing with Seniors. These events provide information useful to our mature population. Senior Network is hosting one of these events at the Grande on March 13th from 1 to 2. Another Sharing with Seniors event is co-sponsored by our own Parks and Rec, and that will be held next door at the Community Center on March 18th from 11 to noon. Other events can be found on the Senior Network website, and we will be posting on our website as well in the near future. Also want to mention that the Senior Network is hosting a charity golf tournament to raise money to buy a passenger van that they can use to transport our less mobile seniors to doctors and other appointments, shop for groceries, and other outings. It's interesting. The organization is run by three sisters, and they're all senior citizens in their own right. And they did over 600 trips to fellow seniors in our community last year. So they use their own personal vehicles. So this is important for them. The golf tournament will be held at Heritage Golf Course on Thursday, September 12th. And please visit their website for more information. And that concludes my report, Mr. Mayor.
Great. Well, thank you, and appreciate that report. And it's a lot of opportunities we have now for seniors. I see June in the back there, and I just want to reach out. Thank you and your department. Give thanks to your department on our behalf, the whole board's behalf, for them partnering with this group for our seniors, and really appreciate it. I know you guys got a lot of senior events too coming up this year. Kind of want to, just give my thanks to all your staff, all the hard work and what they do for the seniors. Thank you, June. Appreciate that. Next item is Mayor Pro Tem Sneed, Planning Board. Anything?
All right, just a little bit. I attended my first planning board meeting this month, and we welcomed a new planning board member, Mr. Errol Ozon, I believe his name is. We welcomed him to the board. Everybody went around and introduced themselves because he was new, and I am new to the board. We had a lighter agenda from what I understand this past meeting. Meredith gave an overview of the planning board responsibilities, which is something that I think is very important, that I wanted everybody to understand so we can all understand what our role is there, and so everybody can be on the same page. And I think there's a little bit more training behind that so that we continue to move forward as efficiently and effectively as possible as we can for the town. I'm excited about learning more with the planning board and looking forward to what those meetings are like. Meredith also gave an update of the affordable housing stakeholders engagement meeting. This is not planning board specifically, but she gave a report, so I wanted to report on that. And I did also attend one of the stakeholder meetings, and the consultant, TPMA, did an amazing job at the prompts and things that they gave us, asking questions about affordable housing and what that would look like in Rolesville. They are consultants that are putting together a plan, and that will be finalized and presented to the town, I believe, in August, he said. So we're looking forward to that. And a link has gone out via News Blast for a survey that is being done on the affordable housing plan for Rolesville. So please look for your emails and take just a few minutes to take that survey. It does not take very long at all, but I'd like to encourage you just to take a few minutes just to take that, because the information is extremely important to the plan as a whole, and they need as many responses as possible, so that would be great. There is, I can't read my own notes here, but there are some, a parking lot of updates for the discussion regarding the LDO that the planning board will be periodically reviewing, such things as zonings, perimeter buffers, tree ordinances, and things along those lines. So I'm excited as we dive into those discussions to see how those go. It was a great meeting. Our next meeting will be on the 25th, and that concludes my report.
Thank you. Thanks for mentioning the affordable housing plan that we're putting together. And really, it needs to be the town's plan. So, this is an opportunity for the town citizens to, give a little input, and we're welcoming that. So do that, if you would. It's pretty easy to do. It's a link you can do it on your computer. It's a pretty simple link. It doesn't take a long time, and kind of encourage everybody to do that if you would. All feedback is helpful, so appreciate you do that. Commissioner Vogel, last but not least, I guess all your life you've kind of gone last, being a V.
That's fine. I'll take it.
But Parks and Recreation, anything to report?
Yeah, so we had a meeting on the 28th, discussed upcoming events, which are a lot of. Updates to the parks, which include water fountains that will have bottle filling stations with them, a new bulletin board, some paint work. There was further discussion about the Parks and Rec Department mission statement. And finally, the group reviewed the Hills at Harris Creek and Merritt properties for greenway and bike lane recommendations. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you. Lots going on there. I have to give a shout out for June. That department is doing really good. So good for y'all working together, the board and departments working together. So appreciate that. Communications from the staff. Now we'll have, Amy, do you have a report?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Although this is the time of year we talk about the finances a lot, so I will keep my report today brief, since we've already talked quite a bit. When we had our budget work session at your last meeting, one of the things we talked about was that we were seeing sales tax revenue growth moderate a little bit. And so I wanted to draw your attention to this chart from your monthly report, financial report, because I think this shows how that sales tax revenue is moderating as inflation begins to drop. So for example, if you want to look at the month of August, what this chart does is it shows you receipts for a certain month year over year, right? Because December is usually a very big month for sales tax revenue. So that's why we break it out month by month, because we want to see how it changes from year to year. So if you look at August, that very lightest blue line, almost gray, is the revenues in 2021. And then there's a big jump as it goes to that middle blue number in 21-22. Now, part of that big jump is because we had the new census numbers, and sales tax funds are distributed based on census. And so that changed the distribution within Wake County a bit. But some of that was also due to inflation. Then from the light blue to the darker blue, you see a good jump there as well. Again, due to inflation, running about 6 to 7% at that time. When you look at the darker blue to the yellow, you see that little increase is not quite as much. Still growing. So obviously we still have inflation, prices are still going up, but not as much as it was before. And so when inflation comes down, that means the growth in your sales tax revenue also begins to slow. So something for us to keep our eye on as we go through the rest of the year and work through our budget plans. One thing I will point out to you here as well, you notice our last data point is November, and it's because there's a 3-month delay in the receipt of these funds. So we, in mid-March, will get the distribution for December. Okay. So if you have any questions about that monthly report or anything in it, reach out to the manager. We're happy to get you those answers.
Just one quick question. You mentioned the census changed the numbers because of the population. So that's only happens every 10 years, those numbers doesn't get changed until the census again? We have to wait 10 years to see that again?
It gets corrected every 10 years. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So the state uses, I believe it's the state demographer's numbers to allocate those sales tax revenues. And the state demographer does update those numbers, but it's not as,
Accurate.
I don't want to say accurate. Maybe accurate's not maybe the best word. We give a little more credit to the state demographer, but the census sort of is a correcting year, right? So because the demographer's projections, are based on, it's only as good as the data that they get.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what happened is those projections were probably a little bit out of whack once we got the census. It corrected us up to where we should have been.
Okay. Well, thank you. Any other questions from the board? Thank you, Amy. Appreciate that.
Sure.
And we got human resources here, I think. Lisa, you have anything to report?
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners.
Yeah.
Good evening.
The trial.
Robin is not turning white. I can go ahead? Okay. In my last update, I let you all know that the organization is under construction. That has not changed. There are a lot of things that we're still working on, things that we're trying to enhance, improve, and even some new initiatives that we're trying to bring forward. Tonight, I am going to talk to you about the foundation for that construction. And that foundation, of course, is the employees, because they are integral to the success of the organization.
Yes, it is.
We're going to talk a little bit about our new team members. We have several, more than we've had in a while. We're also going to look at some statistics, and we're going to look at some of the exciting new things that we're going to be doing in the months to come. We have 6 new team members. 2 are in the police department. They're Devin Bolin. He's a master police officer. And we also have Connor Philbeck, who just, by the way, happens to be my neighbor, and I did not know it. He's a police officer 1. We also have Eric Glassy, accountant in the finance department. We have Austin Kiefer, planner 2 in the planning department. Amy Pellman, accounting technician in the finance department. And we have Nara Stevens, who's the Administrative Support Specialist in Parks and Recreation. And we are very, very excited to have them as part of the team, and they have already made major contributions because Eric helps me on a daily basis. Now we're going to talk about some numbers. Turnover is part of any organization. It's not a good part, but that we are not immune to turnover. Our turnover rate is 4%, and that's since my last update in October. And I'm very proud of that 4%. I would love for it to be 0, but I'm proud of that 4% because it's significantly less than the industry norm of 32%. So I'll take that 4% any day. On the flip side, our retention rate or stay rate is 96%. And that represents the employees who choose to stay here and come and contribute and participate and work diligently for the town of Rolesville. But it also represents opportunities for us to do new and innovative things to support our employees, to develop our employees so they can become the most productive, not only employees around, but also individuals, because we look at our employees as individuals and we embrace the diversity that we have here within the organization. Now, another statistic that we're starting to look at is acceptance rate. When we identify a final employee for a vacant position that we have, of course, we extend an offer of employment. Those candidates don't always accept our offer of employment. Our acceptance rate is only 57%. That's concerning to me. I know a big driver of that is the very, very competitive job market today. Employers are just snapping employees up, qualified employees. We're not only competing with other municipalities and other local governments, we're also competing with the private sector. And a lot of times the private sector can afford to pay a little bit more than we can as local government. However, we're not going to let that deter us. We are looking at things that we can do internally to try to adjust that 57% rate. Is it taking us too long when it comes to the hiring process? We're monitoring how long it takes for us to receive an application, for the employee to receive, for the applicant to receive notification as to whether or not they've been selected for an interview. We're looking at the time that it takes from the interview until the candidate is notified whether or not they have made the cut and they've been selected to fill the position. We're just looking at the entire hiring process. We're also looking at redundancies. Are there redundancies? Are there things that we can cut out of the process to make it more efficient and make it more friendly to those who are looking to be employed with the town of Rolesville? Something else that we're looking at is our absenteeism rate, and that's only 2%. Some organizations have very, very high absenteeism, and ordinarily, if that's the case, it's because there's an underlying issue within the organization. And since our rate is only 2%, we don't have any issues there. And I'm very, very proud to say that. We are looking to create an employment experience as we try to work to become that ultimate employer of choice. Part of that experience is our leadership. Leadership is very, very integral to the success of creating that experience. Not all leaders have a title. They're not all directors, department heads, or supervisors. We have a lot of informal leaders, and they lead through their service to the citizens of Rolesville. They lead through their service to their fellow employees, and we try to recognize that. Whether the leaders are formal leaders or informal leaders, we're going to be looking at 5 different principles of leadership to try to enhance the atmosphere here within the town of Rolesville. We're going to start by modeling the behavior that we want to see in others. We're also going to challenge the process. A lot of times we hear, well, that's the way we've always done it. Just because that's the way we've always done it does not mean that's the most efficient way now. So we're encouraging staff to be more creative, to be more innovative, and we're creating a safe space where they can do that. And we're also looking to inspire a shared vision. We're trying very, very hard to paint a picture of the future of the town of Rolesville. And in doing that, we're doing everything we can do to motivate staff to be excited about the role that they play within the success of the town. And we're also trying to enable others to act. And we do that by fostering an environment of trust, accountability, and capability. And last but not least, we're trying to encourage the heart. Doing the astronomical things that employees within the town do is not an easy task. So we make every effort to recognize staff for their contributions and also reward them for the great things that they've done for the town of Rolesville. In addition to those 5 principles, we're also taking a deep dive into organizational culture, because organizational culture can make or break any organization. We're trying to identify what our organizational culture is. And we're also looking at what we want that organizational culture to be as we continue to grow. Because organizational culture plays into team dynamics, it plays into strategic planning, and it also plays into leadership development. Right now, we're in the cultivating awareness phase. And it's very, very interesting, very, very exciting to say the least, because we're learning a lot, not only about the town of Rolesville, but about each other as co-workers and what we contribute in our individual departments and the things that we contribute as a whole. Now, how are we going to accomplish all these things? One brick at a time. One brick at a time. We can't lose sight of the fact that the employees are the mortar that hold those bricks together. The employees play a very, very vital role. And that's why we are trying to make every effort possible to ensure that the environment here is conducive to success, it's conducive to growth, and it's conducive to acceptance and support. Together, we rise. Rolesville inspiring stellar employees. That is what we live by every day. That will not stop. And with that, I am open to any questions that you may have.
Not a question, but a comment. You said, you mentioned in there, when people say that's the way it's always been done, that's a phrase that I don't really care for, because to me that says lack of growth, lack of willingness. And so I appreciate your employee, was it employee experience model, the employee experience that you had out there?
The employment experience, yes.
Yes, because that just, every step of that just points to growth and appreciation, So
Most
I think you're
definitely.
doing a good thing over there.
Thank you, thank you.
As well as you talk about the organizational culture. And I see that as the nucleus, and making everyone leaders, even though they don't have a title. Because a leader is not judged, honestly, by what he or she does, but what they encourage others to do.
Exactly.
So, thank you.
You're very, very welcome.
Any other comments from board? Well, thank you, Lisa. How long you been with us now?
Almost 3 years. I think June
3.
28th will be 3 years.
Over 2.5. So you're doing a great job. I mean,
Thank you.
this department and staff has come a long ways in that 2.5+ years, and keep up the great work. I know.
you.
Just to give credit where credit is due, I know Sheila Sutton, she was a big fan of HR and HR department, HR director, and she was right. I mean, you've made a tremendous amount of difference, and appreciate you coming in and being our first.
Thank you
Being
so
our
very
first
much.
HR director. Now, Amy was part-time, HR director, but our official, HR director, you was our first, and appreciate what you do, really do.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right. I see on my agenda, we got a Main Street project update. Is that you, Eric, or is that Michael back there in the corner?
That is a tag team.
That's a tag team. Okay, well, come on up, Michael.
While Michael's coming up, as you know, we've kind of divvied up the project a bit. And so in my role as assistant manager, I still continue to carry the project management piece, but there's a communication and engagement piece with the community, business leaders, and everyone who is concerned about the project that always takes place, and that falls under Michael's purview. And so as I kind of move through and partner with RK&K, who is actually here and present, our CI and communication support, we both lean on them a lot with the project. As you all have noticed, and everyone in this room and everyone in the community has noticed, there's been a lot of changes in the corridor from Jones Dairy all the way up to Main Street, as you can see. Just to remind everybody of the purpose of the project is to position ourselves to allow for more future development. And so that's why you see the Walbrook development on one end, and that we are working with, and also Cobblestone on the other end. The two subsequent goals of the project are to ease traffic congestion and also bring a more pedestrian-friendly environment to the Main Street corridor. And so we have made a lot of progress on that thus far, and we're looking forward to that kind of continuing to evolve. There's been a lot of major construction with the project when it comes to storm drainage, new water utilities, widening of the Main Street in certain areas. The end that's to the south has seen a lot of progress, and so they have done a lot of that work, a lot of the widening, a lot of curb and gutter, and they recently, in the last 2 weeks, started paving since the temperature has kind of come up. And they've wedged in some of those larger areas that were kind of low, and are preparing for putting in those final lifts in the near future. And so we've seen a lot of progress with that. In addition to the roadway widening, you've seen the addition of a lot of driveways. Those things are the driveway openings, and those are making room to connect to that future development on that southern end of town as well. One of the main things you'll see in the next few weeks, and as you also see right there in the scrolling drone footage, is that New Burlington Mills Road area. That is gone very, very, very well. And even this photo here, this drone footage here, there's been a lot more progress made with that. You'll continue to see that. You'll continue to see that New Burlington Mills Road reach completion going into this summer, and we're looking forward to that because it'll provide a safer pattern on that end of town, because we've had a lot of volume that's been causing some backups, and so that'll help ease that as well. The old Burlington Mills and Main Street intersection will be converted to a right-in, right-out pattern with existing traffic signals removed. The old Burlington Mills Road will also have a lower traffic volume, since a lot of that volume will kind of go up to that next light and make the right to reach those other parts and bypass into that further Wake Forest area that a lot of people and the school that a lot of people travel to back and forth on a daily basis. As of right now, the project is over 40% complete, about 45% complete. And the main things that we can look forward to over the next few months will be the completion of the asphalt part. We'll actually be seeking acceptance of certain parts that are completely done over the next few weeks, and so we won't be returning to some of those areas in front of Walbrook. So we'll be kind of getting out of their way as they ramp up more construction. And then you also see more activity up at the Main Young intersection. They've already started working on the parking lot up there, and so there'll be more activity with that, which will ultimately lead into the summer, where we'll have that extended closing of the intersection between June 15th and August the 15th. We've started engaging the community about that. We had an open house that Michael will chat about as well. We have another open house coming up that Michael will also chat about. So we've just been really intentional on engaging the community, giving them as much information as needed. We haven't seen an influx of complaints of anything other than just some of the diversions of traffic. And so they've been working really hard to keep traffic flow at as high of a level as possible, given some of the safety issues. A lot of people are deterred a little bit, perturbed a little bit, but we're believing that it is a temporary thing that will ultimately lead to a better product and better traffic flow down through the Main Street corridor. And so I'll toss it to Michael.
Sure. Thank you so much. And good evening, everyone. Yeah, just to add to what Mr. Marsh said, we're doing our best to kind of get the word out about the project and really try to inform the public in advance, when there's going to be a partial lane closure or, some work that might impact traffic at a certain part of the project. I put this up here because this is one of the, just as an example of a visual that we showed, this drone footage at the open house. And that was well attended. That was back at the end of January. I think some of you were in attendance. We had over 75 members of the community show up. Really were able to kind of put out some poster boards of the design of the project and have good discussions with community members and answer any questions they had. Something we learned last year when we did this was that there was a lot of interest in the Walbrook and the Cobblestone Village projects, both being on the either end of Main Street. And so we had representatives from both of those projects also join us and kind of talk to their respective projects. So that was great as well. I think that's about it. We just wanted to kind of offer up an opportunity tonight for any questions. And as Mr. Marsh said, we have our Josh with us tonight, our project manager that's overseeing the construction with RK&K, if there's any technical questions. But I think, we're in a good spot, and we continue to try to get the word out. This drone footage here is also on our website, so a web page was created specifically for this project, and I'm sure you've seen this before, but it's Rolesville mainstreetproject.com. People can go here, residents can go here, sign up for updates and things like that, project updates, and then we also have a hotline, in case anybody wants to call in, and we have an email address as well, and that can be found, all that can be found on this website for residents to call with any questions at any time. So, but yeah, let's open it up for questions. That's all I had, unless.
Michael,
Yep.
how confident are we in the June 15th to August 15th timeframe for the Main Street, Young Street intersection?
I can answer that. I won't make Josh answer it. And so what we're finding is that there have been some delays because of some conflicts. There are some utilities that were located along the corridor that were not in the GIS. And so the GIS system is the mapping system that everybody uses, and you go and you look at historical maps and such. And so there were some utilities that were not where we said they were. And so we are on time to close. We're thinking through what that looks like and how we can accelerate it. And so what we may be doing is shifting that a bit and maybe closing a week earlier, or allowing for more extensive work to happen in that period. So the main reason why it was going to be closed is so they could lower that intersection quite a bit, so that it can resolve some alignment issues. And so to answer your question, it is on time. It should only be closed for that. If there is a shift, it will be minor. Maybe we may close a week earlier or stay closed later. The goal is to, if there is a shift in the schedule, that we will close earlier, not stay closed longer, because that will run into the school year. And typically there's less traffic on the tail end of school year, than there is in June than there is in August. And so that's kind of where we are. We are working on a week-by-week basis to stay up to date on that. And so the goal is to have that nailed down. We actually met with Cobblestone today about that. And so the goal is to have that nailed down within the next 2 to 3 weeks. But it's really hinging on getting some things approved with NCDOT when it comes to some stormwater redesign because of some utility conflicts with some stormwater catch basins. So to answer your question, we should be good, but as you know, we're threading the needle with that.
So that leads into a question that I have about the information that's being pushed out to our residents. So that has started, I do believe. And how is that being pushed out to us, me included? Is it Facebook? Is it more than once on Facebook? What about those people that are not on Facebook? How is the word getting out and how often?
Yeah, we do, if there's anything new or, you know, something that needs to go out specifically about the project, we'll put that out in our biweekly updates. Again, not every resident gets that, so we try to encourage residents and through many of our different communication channels to sign up, you know, try to sign up for that update. So that would come out twice a month. And then our plan to kind of get the word out more holistically about the work at Young and Main coming up this summer, where we'll need to have cars detoured around. We're planning another open house in the month of May sometime, where we'll invite the community. And what we did last time to invite everybody, for instance, to the open house in January, I think we put something in everybody's, is it a utility? Is it
It's a utility bill.
Raleigh water bill? So everybody in their Raleigh water bill got an announcement about this and an invitation to attend. But we try to, yeah, every few weeks on our social media as well, especially if there's something, you know, specifically like, hey, you know, be careful this week at Young and Main Street because, you know, one of the lanes is going to be closed for 3 days, and we try to get that out in advance. And I think we did that recently where there was blasting that was happening over by the Walbrook development. But we really encourage people to sign up as much as they can.
One thing that I would like to suggest that I think would be extremely helpful for Lindsay to do when the next event is planned, for her not to only post it on Facebook, but to make an event, I think it's an event, that you can like and it will send you a reminder that it's happening.
Yep.
I think that's important for any events that we have going on or anything that the community may want to be reminded that they may want to attend. I think it's important to not only put it as a post, but to do that
Yeah.
because reminders are great for me, and I'm sure other people as well.
Sounds good. We'll let her know. Yep.
Thank you.
To piggyback on the information went out in the water bill, we might want to look at that too, because I know I get mine digitally, so I don't get the inserts
Yeah.
or anything,
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know how they do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's one of those things where we could
Yeah, it's
just,
a paper mailer.
Yeah, we just
So I
do
don't
it
think they
mail.
do a digital version of that
Okay.
mailer.
Yeah.
yeah. So that's one of the downfalls, so I just want to make sure that we knew that.
Yeah. And we can look into definitely direct mail if we
Yeah.
want to just, I think it's about 2,500 households or something where we could get a little
I think
notice out
that's
to
a big
people.
enough deal that would be
Yeah.
worthy
Yeah.
of
Yeah, and
a direct
I'd rather
mail
have
piece.
a lot of people know about it than a little bit.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and the information that goes into that mailer is usually redundant to the information that goes out in the newsletter. It's typically a copy and just reformatted because it has to be fitted to a half a page and such.
And if something does happen to go out in the mail, a mailer, maybe you should put a QR code on there so that they can go ahead and sign up to get the Rolesville updates.
Updates,
Yeah,
right.
because not everybody knows about that. And I tell people, go sign up for it. Where do I sign up? And
Yeah.
I think just one little, here, do it right now, would
Right.
be beneficial.
We did have that at our open house
We did,
handout. But,
and that initial mailer
yeah.
that we sent out
Nice.
to the
but we-
community.
yeah. Thanks, yeah.
Very good. Any other questions from the board? Very good. I guess my final wrap-up, Michael, the business owners and the property owners that are directly affected by the intersection closing, we have a really good communication plan in place now that we're keeping them informed. It's not that many. I mean, you know,
No.
it's not really that many. I mean, I think an email or a letter is not the most best, it's almost like we need to communicate directly with
Yeah.
those few
Face.
group of people that are the businesses or either, their property is impacted there.
Yeah.
So, and I think we've been doing that, but
Yeah.
let's make
typically-
sure as we get closer, we're communicating updates really well down there.
We talked about having just the business owners in for a small group session almost, just to kind of go over what's going to happen up at Young and Main in the summertime. And naturally, I just kind of interact with them
Yep.
almost on a,
Well, we
weekly or
both walk
monthly
through.
basis anyway. And like you said, it's the few up there that, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's not that many. Well, thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Good job. I think this is one of the things that's, like a lot of things in life, it's really difficult, but once it's done, it's really a big benefit. So it's gonna really be nice. It's really gonna make a game changer once it's finished. It's just gonna be a little bit tough getting through the next few months, especially with the intersection closing and things like that. So thank y'all for working on that. Appreciate that. Next item is new business. We have a legislative hearing for ANX 23-01 and a rezoning, REZ 23-02, which is a Woodliff assemblage. Before I open up public hearing, is the board okay to continue, or we need to take a break, anything? Are we good? We good to go for a while longer? Okay. So with that, I will open the public hearing, and I would first take any introductory comments from the staff. So the floor is all yours. Meredith?
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. Make sure that's on. Got the technology on just in time. For your consideration.
Yeah, we can do it, we can go ahead and do it. Let's get the formalities over with. I think you got a request, Commissioner.
Mayor, I'd like to ask the board to recuse myself. I'm attorney for 3 of the property owners on this project, and therefore I need to recuse myself from voting, with your permission.
Got you. And I think Dave stepped out, but is any opposition from anybody from the board? I think he's asking us to recuse him. Okay, well, you have to recuse. Thank you very much. So with that, Meredith, I think you can proceed.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. For your consideration this evening are 2 applications, rezoning 2302 and a voluntary annexation petition 2301, both for the Woodliff assemblage. The subject site includes 3 unaddressed properties, as well as 1321, 1421, and 1501 Rolesville Road, and collectively is approximately 106 acres. The applicant is requesting to change the zoning from Wake County Residential 30 to Rolesville's Residential High Conditional Zoning District and Residential Medium Conditional Zoning District. Included with the proposed site concept plan are 12 conditions of approval. Actually, the concept plan is one of those. The concept plan shows 98 single-family attached or townhome lots and 157 single-family detached lots. Other proposed conditions of approval include prohibiting certain uses, the provision of architectural commitments, a pollinator garden, community amenities, as well as a minimum of 5 affordable housing units. When the applicant gives their presentation in a few minutes, they will go over each of their conditions of approval. Rolesville's 2017 Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Map shows the property as medium-density residential. So where the red laser pointer is down here, these are the properties that make up the Woodliff assemblage. So medium-density residential, we hear about that category a lot. It is mostly single-family detached housing with some provision of townhomes, duplex, and multifamily. Typical density range is 3 to 5 units per acre. So when staff looked at the comprehensive plan, the housing types that the applicant is requesting, the single-family attached and detached lots, are consistent with the medium-density residential land use designation. In addition, the proposed vehicular circulation is reasonable through the site, and the correct right-of-way that our community transportation plan requests for Rolesville Road is shown on the concept plan, and the proposed greenway network is consistent with what our greenway plan shows. Stantec Consulting Services performed a traffic impact analysis on behalf of the town. And with that analysis, it states that there are 2,222 daily trips that would be generated by this project if it were developed, including 165 AM peak hour trips and 214 PM peak hour trips. And we do have Matt Peach from Stantec in attendance this evening, and he is available to answer any questions about the traffic impact analysis. The Planning Board heard this case at their December 18th meeting, and they recommended approval 4-0. So, we have 7 Planning Board members, so 4 might sound like a smaller number. Wanted to let you all know 2 were absent, and there was 1 vacant seat at that meeting. And the Planning Board had some questions about traffic. They had some questions about how the affordable housing units might work, and we talked through some of that, and I know they were looking forward to seeing the presentation this evening as well. Staff also recommends approval of this rezoning request due to its consistency with our comprehensive plan. So at this time, I'd like to invite the applicant up unless you all have questions for staff prior to that.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Any questions from the staff? I know you said our engineer for, does he have a report of any type that he would like to give? Let's go ahead and make it part of staff report if he does.
I think Matt Peach is here for questions. Unless there's anything you'd like to add, Matt, I think we're good.
I'd be happy to come up. I didn't prepare any slides, but happy to talk through.
Yeah, if you got something to report, let's do it under staff. So let's go ahead and report. If you don't, then just questions, we'll just hold them then.
Why don't you come up? So you're, come up? Okay. And I do have the staff report with some information if you need that.
Thank you so much. Good evening. My name's Matt Peach with Stantec Consulting Services. Happy to be up here in front of you all. Commissioner Long, it's great to see you. This is my first time in front of the board since you've started your term. So just real quick on the traffic impact process. I am contracted with the town of Rolesville. So I produce the traffic impact studies on behalf of the town. Not necessarily the applicant. The applicant does pay for my time. However, that is collected and escrowed through the town. So I work for you all. I work for the community. Just want to kind of make that clear. The applicant is here tonight, and I do believe they've brought engineering staff along with them. So I speak kind of with regard to the study. If there are certain questions that I defer to the applicant, it's because I can't directly speak for the applicant is all. So. Obviously, this is a corridor that we've taken a good hard look at over the years. We've talked a lot about this corridor. There's a lot of development occurring on it. To provide a little bit of color to what Meredith had said regarding what the planning board's comments were, of course, they're concerned about traffic. There was one fatality along the road that occurred in 2018 in kind of the curve just south of Fowler, south of the high school, where there was a head-on crash. The car kind of crossed over the center line, and unfortunately there was a fatality that resulted in it. Planning board did ask about that. Planning board was also concerned about the angle of the intersection of Fowler at Rolesville Road. And we talked through that a little bit. This particular development doesn't kind of control the land around that, but that was a concern that the planning board had. And then I think the last thing I wanted to say is that we submitted the study to NCDOT, and they conducted their review. They agreed generally with our findings. They had one additional requirement that we did not highlight in the study. That was to make an improvement to the easternmost U-turn bulb on the bypass, so they're adding a second U-turn lane there. There's space for it. DOT thought it was a good improvement, so they had recommended it. So just one thing above and beyond what we had recommended in the study. Otherwise, everything was consistent.
So was your report amended with DOT's recommendation?
They issue their own separate review report. It's a 3-pager. It's a kind of a summary of the analysis and their findings.
Okay. I don't remember seeing that if we got that. Did we get that?
They email it out. If it didn't make it into your
Okay,
packet, I
okay.
apologize.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, also, sir, question for you, with that intersection of Fowler and Rolesville Road. I traveled down that road actually before I came here, and it's hard to see coming from Fowler Road, making that right on Rolesville Road
Correct.
up that hill.
Yes.
And the only way you know someone is coming if their headlights are on.
Yep.
Now, but during the daytime, that's a blind spot. So with the development, it's going to create even more of adding to those, hopefully not, but those numbers of accidents that could happen.
Yeah, given the nature of this development, residential, we don't foresee a lot of traffic kind of coming to and from the east so much on Fowler. That's always possible. But we really kind of see, since it's residential, we see it going to and from kind of the employment centers, which would be downtown Rolesville and kind of down towards the city as well.
That's the hill I'm talking about. Is like as soon as you turn on Roseville Road, it's a hill right there that's coming up, and that's a blind spot.
Yeah, that intersection is challenging both from kind of a vertical perspective as well as a horizontal perspective. So the angle that you were kind of coming in, it's hard to kind of turn your neck and see down that way too. It's also hard for larger vehicles to make those turns. So we strive to kind of have a good 90-degree angle at intersections wherever we can, and that kind of just what you're talking about goes to show that that's why we strive for that 90.
Is there any strong recommendations for road improvement?
I wouldn't for general improvements or for that intersection specifically.
General improvement, not just for the intersection, but also to kind of mediate the blind spot of going up the hill.
So for that intersection, we didn't recommend anything in that study. One, the applicant doesn't have control of the adjoining properties there, so it makes realigning very challenging. They may be able to talk to that since it did come up at planning board. So they might have done a little bit of due diligence as to what they could do there. Otherwise, we did recommend several improvements along the corridor just because we know the amount of traffic on that corridor is heavy already.
Thank you, sir.
Yep, very welcome.
Okay, any other questions? Thank
Yeah.
you.
So I have your presentation available.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Kern and members of the board. I'm Mark Frederick with Parker, Poe, Adams, and Bernstein at 301 Fayetteville Street in Raleigh. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Pulte Homes. We do have a good amount of members of our development team here to answer any questions if they do come up. That includes Kelly Race and Mikkel Thompson with Pulte Homes, Kevin Dean, our transportation engineer with Kinley Horn, and Brian Inge and Brendy Vega with Withers Ravenel. So we are calling this project Woodliff, which is the surname of the family that has owned this property for quite some time. And as staff mentioned, this is a request for a zoning map amendment to allow a residential community with 255 lots spread across 105 acres. And to orient you with the site, it includes 6 parcels to the east of Rolesville Road, just south of the intersection with Fowler Road. 3 of those parcels will be subdivided and retained by the current owners, with those areas shown in red. And what is left is just over 105 acres that we are requesting to rezone and annex into the town. And from the outset of this project, we took into account the town's plans for this property, primarily the future land use map designation for the property, which is for medium density residential uses in the future. This designation does recommend single-family residential uses, as well as duplexes, townhomes, and multifamily residential with a density range of 3 to 5 units per acre. So carrying those recommendations forward as we began designing the project, we did arrive at this concept plan you see here on the screen through back and forth with town staff. This plan includes a total of 255 units, which is at 2.4 units per acre. This includes 98 townhomes shown in the red on the northern portion of the property and 157 single-family detached homes on the southern portion of the property. There is a gap in the middle of the project along Rolesville Road where the current property owners will be retaining their property. But we have included a commitment with this project to provide the widening and frontage improvements along Rolesville Road to avoid any gaps in those frontage improvements. But perhaps the most defining aspect of this development is that we are proposing what amounts to a conservation subdivision. There are a significant amount of environmental features on the property, especially along the eastern portion. And we are committing to preserve a significant amount of those environmental features. The way the open space is calculated is a little bit complex because this is a split zoning, but the total amount of open space we are providing is 65 acres, which is 61% of the 105 acres in total. The LDO also has a requirement that some of the open space that you provide has to be on buildable land, so property that could be developed on and is outside of the wetlands, stream buffers, that sort of thing. And we are committing to preserving 30 acres of buildable land. So again, the calculations here, so for that northern portion, that we're requesting the residential high-density zoning of the 41 acres. In that designation, we are proposing to preserve 32 acres of that, of which 9.3 acres are on buildable land. And then for that residential medium density designation on the southern portion of the property, that area totals 64 acres, and we are proposing to preserve just over 33 acres, with 21 of those acres being on buildable land. We are also providing and constructing a greenway along the eastern portion of the property. This is about 3,600 linear feet of public greenway with multiple connections to the community, as well as connections to the south to the new development down there. We are also going to be building a trailhead with public parking and dedicating that trailhead and the parking to the town. This is located on the northeastern portion of the property along Fowler Road. And we also do have a variety of zoning conditions with this case. The first is that the development has to conform to this concept plan. So these are all commitments of the project. We are providing perimeter buffers around the entire development. Those do not get any less wide than 25 feet in any area. And there are a variety of amenities that we're providing. There is a main amenity area in the central area of the property. We're also providing a half-acre pollinator garden, a tot lot, and a dog park. We're still working through the final locations of those amenities, but those will be provided with this community. We've also included a variety of architectural conditions to ensure that this is a quality development. Looks like I've somehow, there we go. So this is the list of those architectural conditions that apply to the single-family detached homes as well as the townhomes. We worked with staff to come up with this list and think it'll provide a high-quality development with features that the residents will really enjoy. So this does include exposed masonry foundation. We're prohibiting vinyl siding. If masonry is not the predominant material, there will be 2 sides of hardy plank siding on those facades. There are also commitments to a varied colored palette throughout the development to avoid some monotony throughout the neighborhood that you sometimes see in newer developments. And then lastly, we are providing a commitment to affordable housing. This commitment includes 5 affordable townhome units to be sold to households earning no more than 80% of the area median income. Pulte Homes is extremely committed to contributing to the communities that they build in, and this is one of the avenues that they can contribute to the community. So in addition to, they do have a in-house program to provide affordable housing to the buyers of their homes. That program, it vets the buyers to make sure that they qualify under the earning qualifications, as well as provides education programs to those buyers so that they can make educated and informed decisions, not only when they're purchasing the home, but also as they're living there, to make sure that they are making good decisions as for their wealth moving forward and for their home ownership. So with that, that is all we have, but we are available for questions if you have any.
Yes, can you go back to the drawing, please?
Yeah, but before we get into questions, because you may call on some of your witnesses and stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you done with your staff report or your report? Are you done with that? Because I'm going
Yes, I'm done with my
I'm going to ask
presentation.
the clerk to swear everybody in that wants to speak.
Mr. Mayor, this isn't quasi-judicial, legislative.
We don't need to swear in. All right. Okay, any questions for the attorney here then?
I'll wait for the applicant.
No? Okay, you can proceed.
That was my presentation.
Oh, okay, great.
So if you have any questions, happy to answer them.
Yes. Can you point out again, where is the public parking for the trails?
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see the cursor, but up along where this development meets Fowler Road, there's a little bit of frontage there. We'll be providing it hasn't been designed yet. We haven't shown that level of detail, but there will be public parking and a trailhead to access the public greenway right there that would be
Is there
dedicated.
a home there?
Excuse me?
Is there a home there?
No, there's no home off of Fowler Road, and there's actually no road connection to the community through that access on Fowler Road. That would only be to the public trailhead. There's a cul-de-sac right here that ends the internal kind of transportation network for the community.
Okay. And my other question is, are there going to be sidewalks and bike trails being put alongside Rolesville Road?
Yes, there is going to be, so as part of the frontage improvements that we'll be providing, including along the retained parcel here. So it'll be widened, and I believe there's going to be a multi-use path there that is a little wider than the sidewalks you typically see.
Okay, will any of the trails be connecting to town somehow, to our existing park and rec trails?
Yeah, so there'll be sidewalks on every side of the internal roads throughout the development. So the trail along Rolesville Road will be connected to that greenway along the eastern portion of the site. There'll be multiple connections from the development and onto that public greenway.
Okay. And the other question, I don't see any commercial, because there's no commercial pretty much going down Rolesville Road. This is a good project, but a great opportunity to kind of go along with what we already have as our feasibility study for adding commercial. And this is a good location to add it, which, are you planning on doing that?
So no, we haven't included any commercial within this development. This hasn't, we've been in discussions with staff throughout the entirety of this project, and commercial uses haven't necessarily come up, primarily because the future land use map and comprehensive guidance that that we've had for this property is for residential uses. So we haven't incorporated those uses, the commercial uses, into this development.
Okay.
I think they would probably be more successful at the intersection with Fowler Road if it is developed in the future. Commercial uses can sometimes struggle unless they're at an intersection that has that high visibility.
They could struggle, but Rolesville, let's see, what was I reading? In Forbes, out of the 630-some cities in Rolesville, in North Carolina, Rolesville made Forbes as the top 25, ahead of several other cities. Only ones that was close was like Cary. But Cary has a lot of money up there, right? But so the money is here in Rolesville. It's just builders that want to invest into the town, besides residential, can also add commercial because the money is here. It's just a lot of people will leave to go and shop at other places because it's not currently in town. That's why I asked about commercial, which also those townhomes. If you talk to staff, someone should inform you that those townhomes are not walkable to that. It's already zoned for Wake County residential low. You're requesting high because our land use map is median. And I understand the numbers. You were right at the median numbers. But those townhomes should be at least walkable. That's why I asked about the commercial to kind of make that project work. So what is Plan B? Do you have a single family home project?
So, trying to understand the question here. So there will be single-family detached and townhomes
Correct.
within this development?
No townhomes. I'm asking, do you have a Plan B that shows all single family homes?
Currently, no. This is the plan that we've worked on over the past year or so. Again, we understand the desire to see commercial, but we really relied on the adopted plans that called for residential on this property. I think if we had seen the comprehensive plan policies for commercial on this property, we would have gone that route. But this has been, the goal for this development from the outset was for residential.
Residential to include townhomes?
Yes, it will include townhomes.
Okay. Just clarify. Okay.
Okay, anything else, Dan? Any questions from this
I
side?
do have a question about affordable housing. Thank you for your presentation, for bringing us up to speed. I noticed that you mentioned 5 homes, 5 townhomes will be considered affordable. Have you considered doing a split of some of the single detached homes, 3 of the homes with 2 of the townhomes or anything of that nature, to consider that as another option? Because I'm assuming that everyone doesn't want to stay in a townhome that is looking for affordable housing. Just curious if that is also an option or even considered.
Yeah, that is something we did consider, and we landed on the townhomes. I think primarily because it was those types of units are seen as more, I guess, affordable to buyers and more attainable. So we thought it would be better to include a commitment for the more affordable or attainable units. But, I think with, we had originally included a lower amount of affordable units, but we've slowly increased that over the course of the rezoning process. And we do remain committed to providing affordable homes. I also think the size of these lots and the homes will provide, I guess, a more attainable price point across the community. Not only for the townhomes, but also the detached homes. So it's not only the actual condition we're providing, but we do think we're providing more affordable homes throughout the entire community.
Thank you.
What are your price range for the homes?
That's going to be largely driven by the market and when this product is delivered in a few years. If I may, I'd like to ask. my colleague Collier Marsh to answer
Just
that
curious, since
question.
we are trying to start an affordable housing plan, so.
Good evening, Collier Marsh with Parker Poe. So I had worked on portions of this project and just want to kind of clarify a couple things related to affordable housing. So we looked at it a number of ways. The for sale units, I think it's worth really looking at the nature of those impacts. To your question, what do these units cost? We don't know the exact cost at this point in time because of estimated cost of construction, what the market will be at build out years out. However, in looking at comparable projects in recent years and looking at price points, when we were looking at a per townhome basis, I think it was in the neighborhood of a $80,000 price reduction for this 80% AMI number. And I don't recall the exact numbers, but that was the delta. So when we were looking at how many units can we provide, we actually had 3 at an earlier point in the process. And that was just based on how can we make this work. The $80,000 commitment on a per unit is pretty substantial. So when we look at a single family home, the number's in the hundreds of thousands. So when we evaluate what can we do as an offer, we thought that we could get the most bang for your buck, affect the most families by having more affordable townhome units, because for the same dollar commitment, we can cover more units. And so it's all, balancing the dollars and cents to see how much we're able to actually give. And again, it's really meaningful for each of these units. It's really meaningful for those families that live in them. And I think you often hear about affordable housing in the context of an apartment community where you just adjust other rents to make it affordable for those units. Here, it's just a price cut for a specific family that qualifies and impacts their life.
Okay. Question, again. For this project, you said you've been working on it for about a year now? Is this the original project? Because for some reason, I thought I saw something that had less townhomes.
So this is the project as proposed. There's been updates throughout the process. There's slight plan updates. I think at one point we had a wetland determination that allowed us to access more portions of the site. So that could be what you're referring to, that the first version of the project had less area that we were intending to develop, but we were able to essentially in that northern section access a larger portion, which expanded the overall development.
So it did increase the number of units. That was
Since day one, since the first submission, there might have been a slight increase based on that space. I did also want to comment on the policy related to townhomes and where they should be located. I read the policy in the town's plans, and that refers to having them either near Main Street or direct access to the major roads. So in this case, when we evaluated that policy in connection with staff, there are a couple factors that weighed in providing townhomes here. It's the direct connection right up to 401, also the proximity to the high school. So when you look at providing townhomes, who's going to be living in those? So as Mark was commenting about the overall affordability, yes, that we have 5 restricted units which have a substantial price cut, but we also did market analysis of, for the non-restricted units, your market rated units, who can afford those? And at the price points that we're evaluating, those are affordable to your teachers, to your firefighters, to your police force, because they are at a lower price point. So not restricted, but at a price point that's attainable at those salaries. So again, looking at that policy, proximity to 401, proximity to the school, all triggered, yes, this would be an appropriate location for those townhomes. And the commercial we did look at as well, and I don't know that Mark was involved in all of those details, so I'm sorry if I didn't fill you in, Mark, on that. That's my responsibility. But the key area that we determined if you were going to have commercial is that hard corner. It's not a matter of the value or the ability to pay, it's the matter of the visibility and the matter of access. And so when we're limited with access on Rolesville Road, then we have to look to your hard corners, and that's why that site is a good spot for future commercial development, but within our development parameters, there's not an ideal location.
I was just, hi. I'm Kelly Race with Pulte Homes, and good evening. I just wanted to clarify one thing. This, within 4 or 5 units total, this has been the plan with a similar amount of townhomes since day one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this point in time, I will take any comments from any of the, did you got a rebuttal, anything, Meredith?
No, sir. Just wanted to pull up
All right.
the slide.
So I would take comments from the public for anyone in favor. So if you're in favor, step up. Did anybody sign up there, Robin? If I could have that sheet, it'd be great.
I'll stand so I can hand it.
Okay. Anybody want to speak in favor? This is your chance. Okay. How about in opposition? Anybody want to speak in opposition? I got one name on the sheet, Margaret Watkins. Do you want to speak now?
Yes, Margaret Watkins, 407 Belmellen Court. I have a photo here where there appears to be less townhomes than what this plan has. I don't know if you guys have seen this.
That's the one I'm referring to.
My biggest issue with this plan is the fact that the comprehensive plan no longer is so old, it's outdated. It's just time to update it. I know it's coming, but I think it's generally in the public's best interest to go through the review of the comprehensive plan before we pass anything that's this far away from commercial. My second issue is why we're even having townhouses. There is nowhere to walk to. There's gaps in the sidewalks even down to Rolesville High School. The only commercial that I can think of is the gas station off 96 and Fowler Road. Or is it Mitchell Mill? Somewhere down there. Let's see. Also, I was under the impression that this was originally supposed to be a retirement community. What happened with that idea? And then what is it? Condition 8. I believe that if you guys are in favor of this, that we revise that from the 200 dwelling down to 100th. There's a lot of times that developers, they stop midway, and the new residents, they get pretty frustrated when those amenities are not in place. I would also highly recommend an extra 10 feet of buffer around the stream areas. And also for the greenway construction, it was never dictated what materials would be used for the construction of that, and that is a great deal of water. I believe it's called Permatrack. I would recommend that. I'm sure Mr. Marsh knows what I'm talking about. That's a quality material, and it'll take the burden off the taxpayers. Let's see what else. Oh, and the parking lot for the greenway. I don't think, I know nothing about engineering, but wouldn't that driveway need to be considered for the traffic study? I'm not sure, but maybe those folks can clarify that. Anyway. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Appreciate it,
Martin.
Margaret. Good questions. Anyone else that want to speak, and I'll say in favor or in opposition, this is your time. Okay, not hearing anybody else to speak. Meredith, before I bring you back up, is there anybody got any questions from the applicant? Any follow-up questions that you guys have?
I would just like to hear some of the answers to her questions.
Okay, anyone specific?
Ms. Margaret,
Any questions
Anyone
specifically?
specific you want to answer from?
whoever can.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll try to get as many of those as I can. But first off, so we did have 2 neighborhood meetings with this case. One was probably about a year ago, and the second one was as we got closer to the hearings. And we did try to address the comments and concerns we raised that were asked at those meetings, which are honestly primarily concerned about construction timelines and all that. There have been several versions of this plan throughout the life of the case. It has been about over a year now. But the total amount of units has remained just about the same. And this version of the plan has probably been the same for the past 6 months or so, 5 or 6 months, and it was included in our second neighborhood meeting notices and at that meeting. So we have been kind of stuck on this plan for quite some time.
Any notes taken at that meeting? Because I don't see it in my packet.
Yes, there were. We did submit reports for both the first and second neighborhood meetings,
I would like to see them.
as required by the town's LDO.
Okay.
And that second neighborhood meeting actually was in addition to the requirement for just the first neighborhood meeting.
Okay.
Regarding the materials on the greenway and the overall walkability, so we are going to be building that greenway to the town's standards. That'll be built to the town's standards. So if there are any issues with that construction, we'll work with the town staff at the time of construction drawings to make sure that we can iron those out on materials. Walkability and the gaps in sidewalks and greenways and areas that you can walk to. So obviously we can't build on property we don't own, but we have committed to filling one of those gaps, which is along the retained parcels here in the middle of the development. So that is an off-site improvement, not required by the LDO, that we are committing to, because we do think it is important to remove those gaps in the sidewalks. Walkability in general, yes, there is the high school to the north. There's also the greenway network that is being built out by the development in the area. This greenway will be connected to the greenway to the south and that development. So there will be places to walk and enjoy the environmental features on this property. So it might not be connecting to commercial uses necessarily, but there are really great places to walk. There will be both within this development and the public greenways.
Are there any fencing that's going to be done to kind of separate that residential area? Keep going up.
Up?
In the white area.
Right here?
Yes.
Yes, so we will be providing the buffers according to the town standards. The buffers will include a fence in most places, and in some areas there are requirements for actual walls. We're going to be working with staff to make sure that the buffers we are providing are uniform across the entire property, but there will be a fence as well as landscaping. And as well as the buffers along the stream, there are significant buffers along those environmental features required by both the town and the state. We'll be providing those, and in many cases that's 50 or even 100 feet, in addition to all the other areas that we could build on, but we're deciding to preserve. So that this entire eastern portion of the development, as well as this existing pond, will be preserved with this development.
I kind of missed it in your presentation, but are there anything in your plans for like a park or a dog park, anything like that?
There will be a dog park as an amenity provided with this project, yes.
Okay. No more questions.
If there's anything I missed, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions from this, on this side over here? Any questions? Okay, thank you. Meredith?
Mayor, there was a question about the TIA impact for the trailhead lot, that's a Matt Peach question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. So there is a driveway proposed for the trailhead. It was not considered in the traffic impact analysis. We took account the traffic that would be generated by the development's homes. The trailhead and the parking associated with it is more of a function of making sure that any cars who are going to be using the greenway aren't doing things like parking on the shoulder, things like that. So the vast majority of the traffic associated with this development is being generated by the homes themselves, not so much the trailhead. So that specific driveway was not included in the traffic study.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other question for Matt before we set down? Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay, Murdy.
Great job.
Do you have any other questions for staff?
I think I ask a lot.
Sorry. Any other questions? Thank you, Murdy. Appreciate that.
Certainly, thank you.
Okay. At this point, I will close the public hearing, and I will turn it over to the board for deliberations and entertain a motion.
So I wanted to point out we discussed this multiple times about commercial property. On November 16th, we actually approved 25,000 square feet of commercial space, a quarter of a mile north of this. So it's right up the road from that. So there is commercial within that area. And I also want to point out that while that greenway is long and it looks like nothing, that is part of a major network that needs to be tied in no matter what. So that's going to connect us in the future to like Nightdale and everything else. That's going to hook us all up to everything. So I like that greenway's in there. So just want to point those two things out.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other comments before we make a motion? With that, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve rezoning request REZ 2302 Woodleaf assemblage with the included conditions of approval and concept site plan.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
Nay.
I think I had 3-1 there. We would need a motion. In that case, then, we would need a motion for a consistent statement. I need someone to make a motion for that.
I'll make a motion to adopt a plan consistency statement and statement of reasonableness for RAZ 2302.
Okay, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Got a motion, second. Any other discussion?
No, sir.
Not hearing any. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, I think, Madam Clerk, count 3-1 on that one. And then I will need a motion on annexation. That's the most important one to make this work, I think.
I move to approve the voluntary annexation petition received under GS 160A-31 for Annex 2301 Woodleaf assemblage.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion, second. Any other discussion? Not hearing any. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I will remain consistent
No?
of nay.
Okay, that's 3-1, 2.
And
All-
statement of
All
consistency.
three motions was approved, Madam Clerk, 3-1. Any other thing, Meredith?
No, sir.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you, board. Thank you for everybody coming out. Appreciate that. Next item that we have on the agenda, and you can come back up, Commissioner Paul, and we will wait for him to get back up here.
I don't think he heard you. I don't think he heard you.
Michael, come on back up. We'll wait for you to get back up here. All right. Any comments or communications from town attorney?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very quickly, we have a couple of mediated settlement conferences coming up. I had mentioned these a month ago. We now have proposed dates of March 21st and March 22nd. I will be sending you an email tomorrow seeking your availability. I'd like to have, if I could, 2 commissioners as volunteers. Commissioner Paul is precluded from participating in at least one of those. And so I'm really looking at 4 commissioners for this effort. But if you could shoot me an email on your availability. At this time, we expect that this is going to be a remote mediated settlement conference. So you will be able to do this from the comfort of your own office or home. And so that will make that a little bit easier. But I thank you in advance. Secondly, my office was asked to take a look at the town's noise ordinance, which has been in place for some time. It has been a challenge both at enforcement and also in terms of community satisfaction with how that works. The manager has that on your agenda tentatively for our next work session. But in advance of that, look for a draft ordinance that I'm going to send to you with a cover memo that's going to come to you via email so that everyone will have had a chance to give that a read through. And finally, just as a heads up, Commissioner Steen, I don't know whether you mentioned this, but the Planning Board is looking at adopting rules of procedure that they will seek to recommend to the board, and that is being prepared by Deputy Town Attorney Aaron Catlett. Those are modeled on the School of Government's model rules. For those of you who have been on the board for a while, you will recognize them when you see them. They look a lot like what this board once considered adopting, but they will track back to you, I'm guessing, in April.
Perfect.
And that's all I had.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any communications from interim town manager?
It's with great joy that I give no communications. All is well. I don't have anything to ask of you. Everything's going smooth. That's my update.
Very, very good. How about any final communications from the board here? Anybody got anything?
So the only thing I have is I want to thank Commissioner Austin for mentioning the military banners. Want to really push that. Want to make sure we want to, we have the Granite Falls Boulevard, the main section almost filled up, or at least we did. We'd like to push it over to the next part of Granite Falls Boulevard. We'd love to have more of those over there. So if anybody's interested, please take a look at our website and sign up for that.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else? Oh, yeah, just want to close thanking the board. Good job tonight, working through the business we had in hand. Just appreciate all the homework. Y'all, I could tell y'all put some homework in this, so I appreciate all the homework everybody put into tonight. I do want to leave on a coming up mayor show next week. We got 2 segments on there. The second segment is Jim Lindsay. Some of y'all that was on the board for a while, Jim presented in front of us a couple times. He's the managing partner for Alden Senior Living. Y'all may remember Arden. They are going close to where in that area which was showed up on the drone, kind of that area across from the Publix there, and very nice senior citizen center going there, which would be very much needed in this area. So Michael, be sure you listen in to the show, and he's gonna go over some of the concepts they have, some of the features will be there, and maybe give us a good timeline of when they'll be doing that. So very excited to have him on. And then Alicia Kozak, she has 2 things that she works on. One is Alicia Project, and one is the Alicia Law. Alicia Law has been enacted in 11 states. Is not enacted in North Carolina, but it's one of the things, I've been kind of working with some of the legislators and kind of talking about that. And our Alicia Project is just educating kids. She was abducted when she was 14 years old by an internet predator and held captive for 3 days, tortured, sexually abused, and was killed if it wasn't reported to FBI, and they rescued her last minute. So last 16 years, she's been going around educating young kids on that. She's got a great story to tell. So if you guys are able to watch her, because I'm always excited every time I talk to her about some of the work she does. And she lives in the area now. She lives really close to the high school, across from the high school out there in that area. So she's from Pittsburgh, but now lives down here. So really excited to have her on, and y'all listen in if possible. Get the word out next Thursday night at 7 o'clock. But there's a lot of other things going on, a lot of other good things going on in town, so keep yourself informed. We are getting into some better months now, which we'll be able to get out, get about. Rec department got a lot of good things going on, so be good and be about. Thank you, board. Appreciate that. We get out even before 9 tonight, so appreciate it. Thank you. Any other last comments around the table? Not hearing any. I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
No more long meetings.
No, it went.
No.